Paul's question in the midst of all of this, and the reason that I believe he was asking God to remove this thorn was because he felt, no, I can be effective. Why do I have to suffer as God's servant? There's no reason for me to be going through this if I'm serving the Lord. You must take it out. Don't you think it's a good reason? Yeah, I think so too. But I guess that's part of the issue. God wanted Paul to be in a position where he was forced to realize and remember that anything of any substance that was accomplished by him was because of God's power, not because of Paul's power. Paul was in a position where the temptation would have been so great to him for him to have taken all the credit. You know, I've done all of this. I went here and I went there. And I started so many churches. And I trained so many people. And I got so many churches. Too many people are boasting. Too many people are taking God's glory. Be careful that we do not take God's glory. Because we are not able to do anything. It's God's power. God is still saying to us today, I gave you that thorn so that you will always be humble. I gave you that thorn so that every day of your life you will know that you're not able to do it. You've got to look to me. I gave you that family to needle you all the time so that you won't get too proud about anything at all. So that you'll always pray. You'll always know that there's nothing you can accomplish on your own. Even Paul recognized that the reason that he was given this thorn in the flesh was in order to keep him humble. Can you see that? Because Paul was a very highly educated man. He had great abilities, great talents. He was greatly used. He was bold and fearless. He could stand before kings and not tremble. Such was God's blessing over Paul. And it could so easily go the other way, where he could say, I am able to do all of those things. But because of this thorn that God had permitted in his life and would not take away, kept Paul humble all the days of his life. He had to be plugged in to the power source at all times, because he knew without this power he was absolutely nothing. And we need to know that as well, folks, that without the power of God we can do nothing. Trust in God's power when you have none. Get plugged into God's power. Right now there are thousands of families all around the world who are desperately hurting because they lost a husband, they lost a wife, a son, a daughter, a dad, a mom. They're wondering whether or not they will have the strength to carry on without their loved one. I think particularly of mothers who have been left behind to care for young children. How do they manage that? Only God knows. I received an SMS only this morning to tell me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll just give these children away and then go and see what I can do with my pitiful life. There are physical conditions that people face that cause them to ask, how am I ever going to make it through all of this? How am I ever going to be of use to God? How am I ever going to be of any use to my family or to anyone else in the condition that I find myself in right now? And God answers, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Hallelujah.
Amen.
My strength is made perfect in your weakness. God's strength will be made perfect in your life only in your weakness. When you have nagging problems that just won't go away, a pain that will not subside, a child that will not obey you, a co-worker that will not respect you, a loss that you can't seem to recover from, you wonder, God, is your power strong enough to enable me to handle this? God, is your power enough to sustain me in this situation? And then he responds, my strength is greatest when you are weakest. My strength is greatest in your weakness. I can get you through anything. When God chooses not to use his power to alleviate your pain, trust in God's power to see you through the pain. Sixthly, lastly, serve God right where you are. Don't run away. Don't look for some easy place. Because wherever God placed you, just remain there. I've learned that the safest place is in the center of God's will. If he placed you in some situation, no matter how difficult it is, he will see you through. He put you there, so he'll take you out from there. Don't run away. And so Paul says in verse 9, I delight in my weakness. I guess we all can say that then. Because if his strength is made perfect in our weakness, then we should rather delight in our weakness. Because then we see the strength of God powerfully working in our lives. Hallelujah. So that negative is turned to a mighty positive. You want God to change your situation? But did you ever think that God has put you in that situation to use you right in the middle of it? Did you ever think so? Start thinking that way. You are in that situation today because God put you there. Don't fight God. Don't ask God to change things until you've looked for and found how you can minister in or be changed by the circumstances that you face. God doesn't do anything without a reason and without a purpose. Remember that our steps are ordered by the Lord, and therefore wherever he puts you, he puts you. Whatever situation you find yourself in, it's his doing in your life. Don't fight him. Joni Eareckson Tada had her life forever changed one day as a young lady. She was totally devastated by a diving accident and became a cripple. She couldn't move both hands and feet. She pleaded with her friends that visited her in hospital, just give me an overdose of tablets. She couldn't do it herself. Her hands couldn't move. Her feet couldn't move. Give me anything. Just do anything to help me. I want to die. I don't want to live this way. And so she would plead with family members, plead with friends, plead with the nurses. Please, please do it for me. I don't want to live. She couldn't face it. As a young woman, to now lie in a bed and expect everybody to do everything for her. She was totally and completely an invalid. She couldn't eat. She couldn't drink. She couldn't dress. She couldn't do a single thing on her own. She got mad at God and the world for a while. But then God did a great work in her life. He didn't restore her hands or her feet. He did none of that. She remained in that state. But she took up art and began to draw and paint. How could she do such a thing? She did it holding the paintbrush with her teeth. And God gave her such a tremendous gift. And thereafter, she was able to write books, take part in a movie, start a ministry, produced music. Did she pray for God to heal her? Oh, yes, she did. She did. She did. And God said no. Instead, He was using her disability to bring glory to Himself and encouragement to millions of other people. God sometimes will answer your prayer the way you want it answered. Remember that we can't tell God, we can't legislate to God how He must answer our prayers. It's wrong for us to think that we can tell Him what to do. We think that we are going to some grocery shop with a list and we can just tell them what we want. You can do that here with a grocer, but you can't do it with God. You can't tell God what you want. Some of you might remember Carey, an author, has written several Christian books. She also has a radio program. She tells of an incident one day when she was getting out of her car, loaded with books in her hand, and suddenly she didn't want to get into her house. She was a young widow with 2 children. And there she stood, just not having the resolve to even open the door and get in. And as she stood and looked at the grass, she thought of the time one day when she was a little girl. And out of fear, she ran through the garden, and her father was waiting with wide open arms to just scoop her up from the ground and comfort her. And she thought to herself, wouldn't it be so nice if I was a child again? Won't it be so nice if I could be just scooped into the arms of someone that can love me and make me feel like everything is going to be okay? And as she reminisced, and as she stood there looking, immediately she was transported to the Heavenly Father who said, Kay, my hands are open and you can run to me. I will scoop you up in my arms and I will give you perfect peace. And immediately she had that sense of well-being. She had that sense of just being scooped up into the arms of the Lord. And she found such peace. And she opened her door, put down her books, and went down on her knees and said, Father, I'm in your arms. The task that I have before me is too immense for me. Young as I am with 2 children, I don't know how I'm going to manage. But today she's a well-known woman, written so many books, given encouragement to countless millions of people all over the world. Today, you too can run into the arms of Father. No matter what your needs are, no matter how painful you find your situation right now, no matter how hopeless it might seem, and there's nobody you can talk to, there's nobody you can really cry to, because nobody really cares when you cry. Nobody really knows what pain you're going through, and you find it useless to talk to anybody about your pain. I tell you this morning, you can run into the arms of Father. And His arms are perfect. He will give you comfort. I don't know what you're going through today. I know one thing for sure, that we all have faced situations when heaven remained silent. And you prayed and you prayed and you prayed and you prayed. And finally the answer was no. And you asked, Lord, why? Why? Have I done anything wrong? Why? God sometimes permits these things to happen in our lives so that His glory might be seen and shown to people. So that we could be a blessing. God's ways are higher than our ways. He knows best. Father knows what's best for you. Sometimes in our own limited wisdom, we try to imagine this is how our lives ought to be. But Father says, I've got a better way for you. And we just have to trust Him. We just must trust Him. There's no other way, folks. There's no other way. If you want to be happy in Jesus, then you'll have to just trust and obey. For there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to just trust and obey. Even when the answer is no, know one thing, that He cares so much for you. He has your best interest at heart. He will see you through. What a wonderful God we serve. Hallelujah. What a mighty God we serve. Hallelujah. We worship